Hello and welcome to another big edition of Layback with Betfair. It is Caulfield Guineas week this weekend. 3 Group 1s to dissect at the Heath. My name's Nick Foot. The men that are going to help me do that, it's the A-team. It's back. It's the Baron of Betfair, Tom Haylock, the Prince of Pakenham, Reece Goodwin. G'day, Tommy. Good to see you again.
Yes, you saw me last night as well. Are you sick of me yet?
No, never, mate.
It's great to have the A-team back together. I haven't seen... Is this the first time this season?
No, I don't think so.
I think it's probably the fourth, I reckon.
Yeah, round one.
Okay.
No, because I was away for a long time. Round one was the only round.
Well, the listeners will be up this week because you're back, and also the great man, Reece Goodwin.
Last week, and we
I needed a week off because
Really?
me 2 weeks ago, it was an absolute strip out what I tipped. It
Really?
was horrific.
Yeah.
I laid Angel Capital, it won.
Yeah.
I laid something else, it won. Everything I tipped was out the back.
Well,
I was absolutely legal. So I needed a week to regather myself and get my thoughts together. And
he's
have another
really
crack.
sold the show at the top, hasn't he?
Tune in.
Don't worry about the trainer. That's all I'm saying.
Some great tips on layback.
Sometimes you can be too honest in this game. Let's be fair. Let's kick into the lay bin, boys. And Tommy, I know you always have something that you just want to get off your chest.
Yeah, this air conditioner.
Yeah.
I actually had a pretty quiet week on the layback front. I did see the Wizard and Ginnivan didn't turn up to their clinic with the kids. It was their own clinic, so they can get in the lay bin. Turn up if you promise something, and I know it was after your best and fairest awards, but the kids,
They're
paid
still kids themselves, aren't they?
they paid good money, the families, to go see their two idols, and they just didn't bother showing up. So they can get in the lay bin.
Unlike Tom Haylock last night, I was at a sportsman's function, and Tom Haylock was the talent at the
It's
sportsman's
rare, wasn't
function
it?
last night. He wasn't asking the questions, and
Gee, that was good.
I got to hear some good things about Tom. One thing that I'll put in the lay bin, which Tom told a great story, was he had a $39 quaddie in Perth on a first date, and he was glued to his phone throughout and had an enormous collect as well, Tommy.
It was good, yeah. Paid about 20 grand.
Sounds like when he was on his cruise, he just was turning it sideways no matter what, no matter where he is.
Yeah,
No excuses.
He was in Malta and watching Benchmark 78s at Ballarat. That's our Tommy. Anything from you, Reece, for the lay bin this week?
Pretty quiet. I've just been head down, bum up, working hard, trying not to complain about too much. I think Tom got my lay bin last week, so that was good.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. You remember that one? About someone calling up the MRC about the trials.
Oh, yeah.
I filled in for Reece last week with that one.
That was probably why I couldn't come in.
Yeah,
that was why I couldn't come in.
Because you were meant to be trialing.
Yeah, so I'm glad you filled that lay bin.
How is Lovely Cut tracking, by the
trial
way?
Tuesday.
Ask him. The layback with Betfair horse that I didn't get invited in on. How is she coming along?
Yeah, good. She had a trial 2 mornings ago, Tuesday. Come through it well. She'll probably head out to Caulfield Tuesday morning next week for a gallop. Have a look around, tighten her up a bit more, and then she'll hopefully run Caulfield Cup Day first up in the Gothic Stakes.
Ooh.
My dad had watched, so you got any advice or feedback for him?
He's been very quiet, your boy.
He's very excited.
The old man.
He's very excited.
He normally, obviously, after we give him the whack of the lay bin, I don't think I've had an email reply from him. He's too scared to say how he thinks she's going. So
well, he was going to go to the trials last Thursday morning.
A few were. So I think that was a proper lay bin for a few people.
Correct.
I think winning in town can silence anyone pretty much, Reece. Hey, boys, it is a cracking card. This week, Caulfield Guineas Day. It's always a great betting day. I think it's one of the best betting days on the calendar. It's tough this week, I reckon. There's a few sort of short ways home which we'll discuss and talk about because price is king relative to the likes of Broadsiding, Mr. Brightside, the Another Wheels of the world.
Yep.
The card has 3 Group 1 races, headline, of course, by the Guineas. We're going to pretty much just focus on Caulfield today. We're not going to trek too far north to Sydney, which will be music to Reece's ears.
Yeah, a couple of pop-up races you weren't keen on.
Yeah.
Tap Craig.
They'll probably be Group 1s next
The
year.
$2 million Hill Stakes.
Yeah,
I've got a bet there, but we'll shoulder arms there for the time being. But Tommy, track conditions, what are we expecting out at the Heath? What's the wind doing as well? We know that's always key.
Yeah, not too bad, the wind, which is good. So I'm expecting a pretty fair track. Can favour those up and in early and then get wider and wider as the day goes on. We see Caulfield Cup Day late in the day as well with the 2 weeks and the 3 meetings in 7 days there, that it can get wider. But rail true, expecting a pretty decent surface.
Yeah, well, let's kick off in race number 3. It's the Group 3 Northwood Plume Stakes for the mares, 1,200 metres. She Dancers beat home Rose Quartz and La Danseuse Rouge last year, so Tom would have had a place bet in last year's edition. A host of these runners...
You're right, actually.
Yeah,
nice,
I know.
Nice collect.
A host of these runners, they do come through the same 1,200 metre mares race here 3 weeks ago, which was won by Kundalini. Form through it's been good as well, with Revolutionary Miss winning the final race on the program last week at Flemington. Is this a race you're intrigued in getting the hands dirty early in the card, Tommy?
No, I found it very hard, actually. I think Shane will lead, roll forward. As you mentioned, 6 of those come through that last start at Caulfield. I thought Kundalini was fantastic there. She was a big price, a little deep starter favourite back along the inside. I'll probably lean the way over a little deep just there over Kundalini, but you can't knock Kundalini at all. And then you've got extra 2 was fantastic. Went back, got shuffled further back, and was really good late. So I found it pretty hard to split. I am laying Charmstone, win and place, more place. A year off. Trial was pretty poor in my opinion, pretty average. So I think she will need the run.
She's had bone chips taking out too. That's why she's had so long off.
Yeah.
I was in complete agreement with her. Her trials were very fair at best.
Yeah, so I think she'll go back from 14. It'll just be a barrier trial for her. So I'm laying her to place.
Reece, you've got gumdrops in this race. Surely you're backing gumdrops each way.
I was very much a fan of gumdrops. I think I found her at a good price one day at Mini Valley. I think there was quite a few scratchings. There was massive deductions, but still.
Again, he's too honest.
Yeah, I am.
I can tell you the stable think she's going really well. We spoke to Michael Kent Jr. last night, and glowing raps. So
20 to 1.
I've got her shorter than the stable, mate.
I'm siding right down the bottom. Bizot, not
Bezo.
Bezo. Right, there you go. Thank you. Not too many you would see go from a benchmark 58 win to winning a group race, but I think this filly or mare now has a lot of talent. I think Archie's always speak very highly of her, and you had to watch the Bendigo win to see how good it was. She was 3 and 4 wide on speed and still drew away from them late with 62 kilos. Being a mare, so it probably should have been 64 if she was a gelding. You go back to last prep, she ran 4th behind Roll On High. She was 5th at Caulfield behind Miraval Rose in a race that just didn't shape up for her at all. She's generally a horse that was getting back early in her career. I like that she put herself on speed at Bendigo. She's drawn 1 here. I think she can be closer in the run. I think she can be somewhere near a little deep in running, which is going to take her a long way. And I thought she was a crazy price. I think she's one of the mares in the race that's well over the odds that can make a massive jump up in grade. So I was happy to sort of 1 by 3 on her. Obviously more the place at the price, but I thought it was a fairly open race, typical mares race, and I don't think we can go too far wrong having something small on her.
Yeah, I'm with you. I found 2 bets in this race. Bezo's one of them. Kundalini's going to be my main bet. I just think she went up the wrong price. She beat a little deep last start, and yes, a little deep was in the inferior going. I'm not convinced lanes 1 and 2 at Caulfield this week are again going to be the better going. So, and drawn barrier 2 for Mark Zara may find at similar circumstances. Kundalini drawn out. She's flying too since crossing to Graham Begg. This girl, I think she's a good price. She went up some $9, and you're looking at the favourite a little deep around 320 on the corporates at the moment. That's far too much of a discrepancy between those 2 runners. So I'll be taking a little deep on and backing Kundalini. I'll also have something small on Bezo with you, Reece. As fillies and mares benchmark 58. But 4 wide without cover the trip, ridden like the best horse, still got home 4.5 lengths inside benchmark over the last 600 metres after doing the work. So plenty of improvement to come. The most lightly raced mare in the race. So I'm with you, Kundalini and Bezo for me in race 3.
Just on a little deep, Jamie Carter, Zara from an inside barrier 3 to barrier 2. Is that a positive or a negative?
I know what you would say.
I'm asking
you
you
think
the
it's
question.
positive.
Oh, probably. Yeah. But it's... Yeah, what are you?
Oh,
Zara from 2?
Much for muchness, for my opinion. I mean, I don't think there's much between those 2. I think they're both very high quality riders, and if they get luck at the right time, they'll get luck at the right time.
She didn't take 1 gap. I'm not prepared to jump off one of the world-class jockeys for not taking 1 gap. So put that in the bin. Race number 4.
Sorry for asking the question.
No, it's a great question, Tom. I just answered it.
We love piling on you. It's fine. Ask more of it.
Right.
Hey, let's go to race 4. It's the Ladies' Day Vase, or Vase, they say, I think in Adelaide, Tom, where you're from. It's Group 3. Simon Wilds won the past 3 editions of this race. So Wishlaw Lass last year, Cirileo Miss the 2 prior to that.
Couple of your girls.
Yes, I think I found the last 3 winners of this race, given that statistic. No Simon Wild runners this year, though, so we'll find it hard to make it 4 on the bounce.
Not having a bet.
But good race, nonetheless. Getting involved. Are you finally going to open the
Opening
wallet?
the shoulders in race 3, Lang. But pretty confident here actually with City of Lights. I love the profile of this horse. I think she's a very good horse, to be honest. Things went wrong first up. Didn't have a lot of luck at all. Slowly away, tightened a little bit in the straight, and she gets a chance here. McDonald on barrier 2. Just needs breaks at the right time from there. Second up last campaign, brilliant in a Group 3 aspiration. Drew wide there, went back and charged home in the fastest final 200 metres of that Group 3 aspiration. I know Osmos beat her there, but I think this race sets up perfectly for City of Lights.
What's her map look like, Tommy?
Yeah, she could be through back the fence. She'll be closer. No doubt they wanted to ride her closer first up, but she was just slowly away. So she needs to jump better. J-Mac on. He'll probably somehow find 1-1.
Yeah. 1-1 and not spend a ticket.
I'll just let it. No, it's not Sydney.
Yeah.
They might actually ride competitively. Very, very confident with City of Lights each way. I think she is a fantastic each way price and something to win, triple the place, and a good bet.
Yeah, I'm absolutely with you too. She's a filly that I've followed for a little while, even though she has been in Sydney. And I was with her first up, and she was a tough watch. She certainly should have gone very close. You get J-Mac in the saddle. You get a low draw, which has its positives and negatives. But I think she's the class horse of the field, and I think we're getting a good enough price for her. And I do hope J-Mac finds a 1-1, because if he does, it's just going to be probably a bet-in-run job, basically.
Correct.
I mean, you can probably wait and see where she finds a spot, but I think she's the best horse in the race, and I'm keen to back her.
I'm keen on See You in Heaven here for the Jolly stable. I think she's going as well as she was this time last year when the stable targeted the Toorak Handicap, and she's followed the exact same prep. There's something about her looking at a horse's profile that follows the exact same prep 12 months that I really like. And look, last start ran home strongly behind Grinzinger Bell. That was in the Let's Elope Stakes. She clocked the 4th fastest last 200 metres of the meeting that day. She's a Group 2 winner at 1,600 metres, so certainly no issue there. And this just looks a far easier assignment. And I think she'll just blend into the run from a pretty good draw for Craig Williams, and $5.50 corporates. Get a better price on Betfair on the day, I'd imagine. I think See You in Heaven's a great bet. So I'm taking you lads on in race number 4. Let's head to race 5 now, which is the listed Weekend Hustler Handicap, 1,400 metres. The last 3 winners of this race, Ayrton, Cardinal Gem and Karma Lass. How are we assessing this one, Tommy?
Lots of pressure. Fast run race. Buffalo River, Cyrilia Miss. Got Coin Toss, Who Dares from wide barriers. Then you got Running By outside. Griff looking to find a spot. Savannah Cloud and Stocks Nation handy. There's a lot of pressure here. It's a very tricky race for mine, but I think Jimmy Star is one of the bets of the day. But outside of him, it's pretty open. So he was enormous in that benchmark 100.
Did he surprise you just how dynamic he was over 1,100 metres?
The query is if he's flat from that. It was a weird race because they didn't go, and I talked about this with Von Hawk last week before he scratched. It looked like they went really quickly in that race because the field split, but they didn't actually go that fast, and the horses at the back were probably bad rides, and Jimmy started to reel off some exceptional late sectionals to win that. Ran 11.04 final 200 metres, fastest 8.642 of the day. I just hope he's not flat from that performance because he had to sprint and sprint from a fair way out. Coastwatch has beaten him in the past, but he had no luck when Coastwatch beat him. I think he can win again. I think he's very hard to beat. Just hope he's not flat.
Just on a trainer's perspective, Reece, when we'll talk about second up syndrome all the time, and there's plenty of data to prove that it is a thing, and you can, from a training perspective, when a horse does have a dynamic first up run, what are the signs you're seeing at home? Is it just business as usual, and then you get to the track and that's where it presents?
I think so. Business as usual, and unfortunately, it's one of those things. Sometimes you just don't know until they're under that extreme pressure. I mean, Jimmy might have gone home and he ate up that night, and he, been to the beach the next couple of days and seemed his usual self. His action's fine. His stride's the same length. They've got all the data in the world. Kieran Maher. So, the statistics say that some horses, when they go like a jet first up, no matter what you sort of do, realistically, second up, they can run a bit flat. So, obviously the camp would be happy with him, and that's why he's here. But I don't think that's any guarantee that means he's going to run the same figure he did first up. And they probably don't have a reason as to why, at home that they couldn't see him doing it. So, it's a really interesting point. And that's probably why I'm not going to lay him, but I'm certainly going to bet around him. I'm a bit unsure about the 1,100 to 1,400 for those reasons as well, with a little bit of second up syndrome. Obviously, B Shin in the saddle, he seems to get along with him really well. So there's positives heading his way. But I thought, as Tommy mentioned, Coastwatch has beaten him before, and Coastwatch was unlucky again first up. He seems to find a bit of bad luck, this horse. I think his last sort of 6 months has been rock solid, and he's got some really good form lines. He gets Zara in the saddle, who you could say is obviously riding as good as any in Australia at the moment. I thought he had quote of sort of $9. He was a really good each way bet. And the other one, I thought Run Harry Run. He won the Blue Sapphire 1400 this track and trip, and he beat Arkansas Kid and Brave Mead, who I think's pretty solid form. His first up run was good. And we speak about the interference with Almighty Will. The interference doesn't help Run Harry Run at all either. Both horses cop interference, although Run Harry Run laid in on top of Almighty Will. And all of a sudden, Almighty Will form could look very good by the end of the day because he's a short price favourite later in the day in a big race. So I think Run Harry Run from a good draw will be right off the speed. He's an each way price too, and I'd probably be betting 1/3 both of those each way.
I like that. It's a good sales pitch for the man that really sold himself out at the top of the show, didn't he?
That's right.
I'm with Jimmy Star. I'm with you, Tommy. I think it's one of the better bets on the program. I was just intrigued to see whether the stable would keep him to 11 or 1200 metres after being dynamic first up. And I'm not going to sit here and question Kieran Maher, are we, at all? So 1400 metres, big tick. He's been maligned, hasn't he, by punters when when you backed Macram, didn't you, at $301 to beat him that day, Tommy? So, look, I'm with Jimmy Star.
He's been with 300s. He hit 300s in play first up, Jimmy Star.
How much traded?
I can't recall now, but
come on, mate.
Sorry.
Yeah.
If you're going to bring it up.
Be better, Tom. Sorry for the data.
Let's move on to race 6. Let's get to some staying races, boys. The Herbert Power Stakes. It's a Group 2. This is admission through to the Caulfield Cup next week if you win. Tommy, you found Military Mission at double figure price last year in this race, beating Home United Nations and Farrago. We do our research here at Layback.
Was it Joe Maria? I think Joe Maria wrote it.
Who are you finding for us this year at double figures?
Same tip as last week. Got scratched last week. Maharajan.
Oh, yes.
Maharajan.
Just a huge price. They don't like wet tracks. Scratched last week. Lane sticks. Drew 7 last week, I think, from memory. Drew well. Draws 15, which isn't ideal, but I just think I'm going to have something on him at a big price. He went around at a short enough price in a Sydney Cup, and then his 2 runs in New Zealand haven't been too bad. As I said, firm track. Damien Lane on, worth a spec at a massive price, but I don't really like the race.
I've Fancy Man, I nearly give a mention to first up at a massive price because he's been down at Pakenham and I thought his track work and trials had been quite good for a stayer. So I'm going to go with him. He was really good first up, I thought, behind Positivity, and Positivity's franked that form and come out and run really well again. He's not a second up winner, this horse, but he's placed 5 of 7. And he's going to get a good economical run from 2, down in the weights. I think he's tracking the right way. Down the bottom here, Hurricane. Have you seen them? I'm laying this horse because I just think it's coming through well inferior racing and had a really good run last start at Flemington and got through late. He's been 11 in a 650 sort of in the last 24 hours. And Nick Ryan come out and said he actually had something on him at 23s. Must be before the fields come out. So, yeah, I was quite surprised how short this horse was. But I'm pretty keen. He's obviously a winning machine. He's been going well, don't get me wrong. But I think this is a significant jump up. And I was pretty keen to lay this horse, probably even at the opening quote of 11s. Let her know now that the sort of $6.50, $6 he is.
Back out.
Yeah, I would assume probably race day he will. But, yeah, I'm going Fancy Man each way in a fairly open staying race where I don't think many of these will trouble Caulfield Cups, in my opinion. And pretty keen to lay Hurricane down the bottom.
Yeah, I'm with you with Hurricane. If you look even at I know this is a quality, and you look at the weight scale, gets in 53, but true weight relative to this field is 44 kilos. So I'm with you for all of those reasons mentioned there, Reece, and I'm going to lay Hurricane in a race that I really don't have a firm opinion of who wins. So it's always a nice option if you think you find a loser. Before we attack the next part of the card, the quaddie legs, let's head to what caught my eye. And Tommy, this week or yesterday, which was a Wednesday here in Melbourne, we have the Everest and the All-Star Mile officially ticked off becoming Group 1 races.
Yep.
Only, 9 days out from...
Yeah, odd.
Yeah, it seems like an interesting move. Is it the one that got Growing Empire to the Everest?
That's a good shout. Yeah, it's interesting news. I don't know whether to like it or bag it. I just wish that every time, we've spoken about this plenty of times, any time a Group 1 or group race gets promoted or there is a new Group 1, I wish they'd drop some. Yeah, we've got too many Group 1 races, and there's a lot of lead-up races to these. We saw Joe Pride's galloper last week go back, and a couple of horses that aren't really there to win in these big lead-ups that have got a 25 million, however much worth, grand final, and they're still Group 1 races, like the lead-up. So, yeah, I don't know where I sit on them. The All-Star Mile was about to get cancelled not long ago, and now we're at Group 1 as well. So.
Jimmy Star was almost your favourite when it got offered a wildcard slot, didn't it, at Caulfield last year?
Yeah, no issue. They're both good races, and the performances and the winners have been really good at the All-Star Mile as well. So you can't bag any of the horses that have won both races. And
I mean, from a ratings perspective, they add up to,
Yep.
and they exceed many other Group 1s. I think the frustration, certainly from my point of view, is just around you can't get the pattern committee together to sit on anything. But when there's something in it for Victoria and New South Wales, and it's like, oh, we'll get one each out of it. It's like, well, that's not actually breaking bread. That's just getting something out of it for you. So I don't think it's a huge step forward when we're getting on the same page from a pattern committee perspective.
God, no. I actually do have an issue with it because I feel, my opinion is
good.
Any race that is not actually an open field for any horse to be in it, like it's a slot race where people own the slot and they can hand pick the horse they want themselves. Don't get me wrong, we're getting the best horses in it, but it doesn't sit well with me that they're Group 1 races where they're basically manufactured by people that get to pick the horses that run in it, because the point of being a Group 1 winner is it's massive for your breeding record, basically. Or it's massive for everything. But for mares, it's massive for their breeding record. And for colts, it's massive for their breeding record. So all of a sudden, 9 days out, it's been whacked on as a Group 1. And as you said, it could just might have worked out well for Growing Empire that they weren't going to go the Coolmore path. They were going the Everest path. But now, the only reason they were going the Coolmore path was because it made him worth a fortune to win a Group 1. Now it didn't matter. He's going to a Group 1 no matter what now.
Is that show you how fickle and almost backwards the breeding industry is, that you win an Everest and it doesn't mean as much? Like,
I think it's just history
in the world.
You have to read deeper on the page, don't you? Like,
well, that's why I find the stud deals bizarre. When you win an Everest, it's not worth as much as a Coolmore.
Like, I find that staggering as well.
I think what it is, it's a pattern. If you go back and look at a pattern, a lot of the Coolmore winners have been very good stallions. So the more times the Coolmore winner turns into a good stallion, the more further down the track, it's going to be a better race to win for your colt because it makes it more valuable. I don't think 10 years ago, the Coolmore was the best race to win as a 3-year-old colt, but I think now it is because previous horses winning it have been top class stallions.
Yep.
May as well just throw the Magic Millions 2-year-old classic in as a Group 1 now.
Correct.
As well.
Yeah, that's only Magic Millions sold horses, now Group 1. Just another, what caught my eye last week on the show, you said this, Nick.
Tommy, or Functions Haylock as you're most commonly known.
Don't give me that. You called me Functions Haylock, and and then you were spotted on a mic at a function, Nick. That's telling, Nick. Where you've had a few functions.
What function exactly was that?
I can't remember now.
Hard to keep up.
So that caught my eye, Nick.
I don't even think Nick can tell us which one it was.
It's been
how many have you had?
It's been a big couple of weeks, the circuit.
Is it hard being popular?
I don't think it's that.
It's new for him.
I think it's just scraping the barrel. This is like a sugar hit. It'll last 3 weeks and then I won't be required for another 40 years. Been lots of fun though. Tom Haylock's been miraculously at all of them to take these photos. So that's why I call him Functions.
I certainly feel left out.
Yeah.
You're only a trainer.
Yeah, true. Yeah. I was doing boxes at the time.
Hey, let's get to the back part of this Caulfield program because we've got 3 Group 1s to dissect here. The first of those is the Might and Power. It's weight for age, 2,000 metres. The last 3 winners of this race, Alligator Blood, Animo and Probabile. No Pride of Jenny, but we do have the inclusion of Deny Knowledge, who'll add some zip into the race. Mr. Brightside is your deserved favourite. You can't argue that. Price, I'm going to get some feedback from you in a moment. Tommy, what you think his right price is. Important to note that a tissue did go straight past Mr. Brightside over 2,000 in the Australian Cup as well. So does that add a little bit of doubt perhaps into everyone's mind when they're assessing the form? How are you going about it?
Yeah, you got Mr. Brightside. Probably Jenny Lala settles ahead of Mr. Brightside. He might think it's Pride of Jenny.
He can't get away from the Jennies.
He might get PTSD looking at those silks up in front of him. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's clearly got to be favourite. I don't want to bet in the race. I probably have him around the price the market is, to be honest. So I think he'll win. I think he just camps in behind the speed. Interesting if the fence is off. What does Willow do? Come race 7, does he just push off? But Denied Knowledge bowls along at a fair tempo, and there'll probably be enough room there. So I think he'll get his chance, and I think he'll win.
It'd be fascinating what the exchange does with Mr. Brightside late. Do you think there'll be a knee-jerk reaction one way or the other, depending on how the track's playing?
I reckon he'll be pretty solid. I reckon he'll start. If I had to guess his BSP, I think it'll be $1.62. There you go.
I like that. Closest to the pin.
Yeah.
What's yours?
Well, I was just going to round it off a bit more. I thought he'd actually drift a little bit. I thought we'd get 170, 180. That was
so 175. Is that?
Yeah.
172.
172. Okay.
I'm gonna go $1.52.
$1.52 BSP
late.
crunch.
Yeah, crunch.
Well, let's put that comp and tweet this
Just,
out.
Yeah,
right. I
Get
like
some
it.
guesses on.
Yeah, that's good.
Just on, I'm not having a bet in the race at all, and I think he should win. Deny Knowledge, I anticipated her going a lot quicker first up. She's only up 200 metres. Is she going to be going as hard as she... Like, obviously, this is what's happened. The stable change is what settled her down. I think, did she win the Grafton Cup? And she settled early and running, and Blake Shin took off in a masterful ride at about the 1,000 and made it a good gallop from there. But I think since she's been with Freedman's, I'm not even sure if she's led a race. So I'm not sure if maybe they might change things here, but they've done a job of settling her. So I'm not sure if she's actually going to be the speed as much as she had been previously. Because
in Queensland.
Yeah, okay, there you go. But I remember first up when she was wide, I thought she just hasn't been tearing away like she normally has.
Yeah, she can get into a mood and roll along at a real fast tempo like a Jenny. But
Mark Zara's a good jockey booking for her the weekend too. He's always a good jockey booking, to be fair. It's Mark Zara.
To be fair, for first up run, I didn't envisage it being $8 in a Group 1 at next start, so that probably goes to show the thinness of the race.
Yeah, and that's a chance of winning if she leads, to be fair.
Yep.
Yeah, with no Pride of Jenny, it's a bit of a flattener, isn't it? After what we saw at the Valley a couple of weeks ago,
And that was only like
really cool.
Group 2. You know, it was probably more exciting than what these Group 1's going to be, unfortunately.
Yeah, just on Pride of Jenny, and I don't want to go on too great of a tangent, but now attacking the King Charles, but the stable and the owner saying that the big goal is the Cox Plate. How taxing is that going to be on a mare whose style is to just punish them from the top, float trip to Sydney, float trip back on the back up for a Cox Plate? It's a lot. I know she won 2 Group 1s in a week at Flemington.
Yeah.
But this is different gravy.
She could thrive on it.
Yeah.
She's that kind of mare that
Yep.
could. Everyone had the same question in the Champions Day.
Unfortunately for me, I haven't had the caliber of horse. But what I will say
Little
is,
Fox goes okay on the back up.
Yeah, he doesn't like travelling far from Pakenham, to be fair. What I will say is a horse of her caliber does handle things so much easier than your 64, 74 horses. Like if you were to try and do that with a regular horse, run it the way she races on a Saturday, float it back to Melbourne and run it the next week, it wouldn't happen. But she's obviously a genuine freak. And even Kieran said the other morning on radio, he doesn't think he's trained a horse, anything like it, that can basically sprint for 1,600. Whether you say she can sprint for 2,000 metres, we're definitely going to find out in coming weeks.
Tony might book a plane for her. Chuck her on the private jet
Who?
between states.
Get the
Tony.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen much about him at all.
No, it's,
I didn't know his name was Tony.
I think Moods has still got black caviar's actually compression
Yes.
kicking around somewhere. So we might have to work that in. Let's get to the feature of the day, the Group 1 Caulfield Guineas. I'm staying out.
Yeah,
I'm staying out. Yeah, sorry. The Group 1 Caulfield Guineas, 1,600 metres. James Cummings with 2 of the past 3 winners in Golden Mile and Animo. He's got broadsiding here. The guy, he's a walking guinea, isn't he, James Cummings? And he's got, broadsiding could start the shortest price favourite since the Autumn Sun.
What BSP, Nick?
$1.50.
$1.50.
I think he'll start shorter than Mr. Brightside. That's all I'll say.
We should have a market for that.
That's a
Okay.
better market.
That's
Carl?
a good
Yeah,
market.
broadsiding starts shorter than Mr. Brightside.
Yeah, that's fair.
Tommy, is it just all about broadside? I know you were kicking up actually on X. You and
On
Elon
X.
were kicking up about
Yeah.
the likes of Mayfair making it an honest race and going up as the one clearly over the odds, who you thought was second pick. Obviously giving Mayfair a pretty good winning chance.
Well, I took the $11 on offer and the $2.42 or $2.45 to place. I thought it was a stupid price. How could you have broadsiding at $1.50 favourite and a horse that was a little unlucky going to the line with it, beaten 0.33 at $11, not even second favourite? The maths didn't stack up, did it?
You're upset about it.
Well, hopefully he places and runs a good race.
You'll be on X.
There's some positives with him. I like Shin from barrier 10. I don't mind that. He'll roll forward. He'll be outside lead potentially with the stable mates. Shin gets him to jump so well out of the barriers. He'll be 3 lengths in front of broadsiding in the run potentially. If broadsiding gets any bad luck, if the track's playing favouring those on speed, there's a few boxes. Even $7.50 and the $1.70, I'd almost rather take $1.70 to place than $1.40 broadside in a win. So I think they're the obvious two. I think it's the best form. I love the run of Mayfair last start. Got beaten by the Flight Stakes winner before that. So the form's pretty good.
Mhm.
I think he was a silly price at 11s. He's now $7.50. I think that's about right, but I've got him marked a little bit shorter than that. You can play the exotics on Betfair as well. You can back Mayfair, cashback second market on Betfair. That might be a way to play it. I think they run 1-2.
Broadside, we spoke of second up syndrome before as well. And we've read this book plenty of times in racing where you've got $1.55 corporates now going in. The run in the Golden Rose was outstanding given soft track, inside draw, first up. To do that, that's a pretty big effort. And then you're coming to a track you haven't seen before. You're going Melbourne way of going. There has to be a couple of question marks on broadsiding. There has to be.
Yep. And you think he'll start shorter?
I just haven't seen a more universally tipped Group 1 than broadside. Like everyone is just team broadsiding.
I think it shapes up very similar to the Autumn Sun, and he probably had the same little question marks, if anything, and he sat 3 deep with no cover and still brained it by 5.
That was the worst Caulfield Guineas in the history of the race.
I think outside of
the second horse didn't win a race after for 3 years.
Vacillator.
Yeah, that's right. One of the greats. Good memory.
Yeah, thank you.
That is
good.
I'm no win bet, and I think he'll win. But I do think Tropicus is so much better suited Melbourne way. And 2 things I love is Barrier 1, which I generally don't like, but he's never been in the race in Sydney in his 3 runs. I think he was great first up over 1200. Hasn't been getting around Sydney track, Sydney direction. Mzara, Barrier 1, I think he's a great place chance because I think that's all they're racing for realistically. And I think it probably could be Mayfair, and I hope Tropicus that run 2nd and 3rd. So I'm just going to have something small to place and just hope to come out on top, running top 3.
Amazingly, Vic Trainers have only won 3 out of the last 13 renditions of the race.
There you
It's
go.
quite amazing. So Sydney horses, obviously, Cummings with 2 out of the last 3. Yeah, it's an interesting stat.
If a 90% broadsiding turns up, he wins.
I don't mind the barrier for him either.
Yeah,
I think it's good.
at least he's out of trouble.
I think it's good.
He's got a guy that's pretty good steering him too.
Tony.
Speaking of another McDonald, if I'm finding anything to have a bet here, it's around that 210, 220 to place Angel Capital. Bit of Victorian form for you, Tommy. I think Angel Capital is a huge winner at the barrier draw as well.
Yes.
We'll have a few lengths. We'll have position in run over the favourite. Is proven at this track already and is going really well. Can you tell me what the gear changes here, Reece, are of brushing
I
boots
asked someone
hind
about
first
this.
time?
Yeah, so basically all it is must be when he gallops. He just brushes his hind joints.
Okay.
And he must have just nicked him the other day at Caulfield, and that could probably do.
Bit of chafe.
Yeah.
Yeah, if that's how you want to word it. Sure, no problem.
Harry
Trying
Shea.
But he did get off balance a little bit with Ben on, trying to get a run, and the ground was a little bit shifty to the inside. It was a bit inferior. So he could have just knocked himself, or even knocked himself in track work since, and they're just a boot that covers it so that if he does knock himself, it's just going to hit the boot and it won't mark him.
Vaseline first time.
That's later.
3 B cream.
All right.
One of the
So
greats.
can we just round out that? What are you doing?
I am playing the multiples, broadsiding Mayfair. So you've got Exotics, Quinella, Exacta, and Cashback second market Mayfair as well. So, and I've backed Mayfair 1/4.
Okay. And you're Tropicus to place.
Just a place. Yep.
And I'm Angel Capital to place, just for
Nice.
an interest in a really good race.
Yep.
Let's go to the race 9 now, the Group 2 Scalachi Stakes, weight for age, 1,100 metres. Asphora beat home Uncommon James and Chain of Lightning last year before going on to conquer the world. It's a great race. You got Mornington Glory coming off Group 1 success, nice trial between runs. Oscar's Fortune has just had the one Flemington jump out, but he was really pushed out in that time. I'll be keen to hear your assessment. You can tie Recommendation and Kalos in through Mornington Glory as well. And then you've got Star Patrol returning, who I've got a really high opinion of. Let's talk trials and jump outs first.
Yeah, I want to ask you what happened to Uncommon James.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Split
I don't train it,
Split,
mate. Don't look
split
at me.
two good ones. You know everything, Reece. I thought you'd know.
Just
Yeah,
ask me.
anyway,
Backed him at 11s in the Oakley Plate and haven't seen him since.
yeah,
Lewis Willoughby reckons he's a mile horse.
he was a good horse. I
That's
don't
what
know
he
if
told
he's
me.
still around.
If he's
Oscar's
still
Fortune
around.
trial, Nick. Is that what you're going to?
Yeah, I was going to just bit of intent about it.
It was an odd trial, wasn't it? Didn't beat much, big margin, and ridden out. And we saw that at Pakenham the other day, race the trials where they 800-metre trials and the shorter trials, but they keep riding them after the post. It was almost like that with Oscar's Fortune. So, yeah, I definitely I see it more as a positive than a negative for sure. Didn't beat much. I wouldn't read too much in the margin, but the intent is positive for mine.
Yep. And he's got an interesting, obviously being from the West as well, he's got a good SP profile, but he's been fancied in he's been fancied in Quackers and Goodwoods and things like that. So he's hard to get a read on and line up here. Reece, are you going to be having a bet in?
No, I sort of couldn't just be happy with any of them, to be honest. I thought some had queries and some, obviously just couldn't get around, to be honest. The one I was just really looking forward to see is Star Patrol. I think he's a horse with a load of ability. And I know he's had his fair share of problems, and Clinton's been very upfront and honest about that. And he said the other day on radio, I think it's the best he's had him. So I think if he shows up, he can run really well. But I wasn't happy to put my money where my mouth was.
I am. He went up $9, Star Patrol, which I think this is a really open price. I'm having a bit of a burger with the lot here. I'm going to back Star Patrol. I'm going to back him each way as well. I've got a really high.
Straight horse?
Well, he's raced a lot down the straight. Yeah. I've got a really high opinion of him. I think he goes super. Little bit of a layoff. So he's had the 2 jump outs. I liked what Clinton said. He was like, we're going to have 3, but then he's gone to this 1,100 metre assignment. And they just didn't want to take the zip out because they were thinking about 3 to 1,200. So I'll back him in when Clinton McDonald is keen on one. He's worth following in because he gets them right a lot. So Star Patrol, I'm going to backing, and I'm actually going to lay the last start Group 1 winner in Mornington Glory.
Nearly going to, but I didn't have it in me.
Yeah, I found it really challenging to find a lay bet this weekend, something short in the market, and it's an open race. There's a lot of X factors in this race, and Mornington Glory, 1,100 metres, donuts at Caulfield. I think there'll be a little bit more pressure early stages than what he saw last start, obviously in that Group 1 Moya Stakes. So I think there'll be a little bit more going on up top there, and he'll have to tick the Caulfield box, which he's yet to do.
I was going down that narrative of the Caulfield track, but then you watch his Oakley Plate run, and you go, it was as good as it could just about get. I just thought I couldn't quite knock him on that. Like, I know he hasn't won at Caulfield, but some of his form has been very good around there. But I was nearly going to have him as my lay bet, but I was able to find Hurricane instead.
That's why it's such a messy race, because Recommendation put 10 on him.
Yeah.
1,100 Caulfield.
That was the soft track too. As well.
This is why I can't get over. I made him my best bet of the day that first up run, and it went to a soft 7, I think, or something throughout the day. So you had rain throughout, and then a month later you're winning a Group 1, and it's come on, mate. This game's horrific sometimes.
That's the price you would have gave after his first up run.
Seriously. So when the race is as hard as the Scalachi, I'm going to have a hamburger with a lot, because that's what we do at layback.
Oh, tough.
Hey, let's get to the race number 10. How good is having a Group 1, the last race of the day? I'm all about it. I reckon it's a nice way to go out. And that's
Not if you've got an engagement party in Geelong to get to.
Oh.
I've got a wedding actually in the Yarra Valley this week, so
I
I'll
got
be,
nothing, so
I will be turning it.
Any horses?
I'll be turning
I'll
it
be doing more
sideways through the
boxes.
ceremony at this point.
volume up.
Yes. Yeah. A Group 1 Toorak Handicap. Hey, this is this race handed Mitch Freeman and Bo Mertens. Group 1 success for the first time when they combined with attrition last year. Compressed weight scale this year. You have to go back as far as Mr. Quickie winning in 2020 to find a horse with 59 kilos with a bit of weight about them.
They named him after you, didn't they?
Yes. That was on my running prowess. Yes, they did.
Backwards.
It's finally happening too. Craig is finally riding Craig. I've been waiting for Craig to hop on Craig. So, Tommy, that is a useless statistic. How are you seeing the Toorak?
The map's an interesting one. There's no real clear leader. Magnaspin, Whistler Lass up there. They're probably most likely to roll forward. Desert Lightning, double figure barrier. Pericles comes out, which is probably expected. So J-Mac gets the riding fee and can knock off early. I thought another will. I don't know what price he is now that Pericles has come out, but he was about the right price.
280 corpse.
That's still with Pericles out.
With Pericles out.
I was hoping
I think
Pericles ran.
They
because-
sort of knew he was going to come
Yeah,
out.
that's probably
type
fair.
of thing.
Probably wound him in and got 20 cents deductions.
Not on the exchange. Tom.
Not, another will, Drawn Barrier 1 is interesting. Obviously a major player. Got him on top. I think he can win the Toorak and run well in a Cox Plate. Antino, I love that Shin's had a couple of rides on Antino because he's been a horse that's been tardy away.
He does a lot wrong.
He does a lot wrong, but Shin knows the horse really well now, and Shin's a good rider because he does get him to jump better.
Probably been 2 runs in a row now where he's actually jumped pretty credibly.
the 2 runs Shin's ridden.
Exactly, yeah, correct.
He's got genuine weight for age form too, Tommy.
Yep, yeah.
And then wait for age back to handicap. Generally always a good recipe.
Yeah, so 55.5. He drops.
And I've been with him his last 2 and now I'm not. So that's probably another good
He
pick.
drops in
6
weight.
legs.
You can't knock chasing Pride of Jenny, Mr. Brightside, can you? So he's got to be in the mix. And the Orchestral's the only other winning chance in mine. 2 from 2, second up, firm track. Really good record at the mile. So I think they are the only 3 winning chances, and that's how I'm attacking the race. The market and how I play, I'll probably decide late.
I'm going to go down the bottom, Osipenko. And
got none.
Thank you. That's good. Probably gives it a chance now, actually.
Yeah, that does.
I'll give you
Wallace, so it
the
definitely has a
main
chance.
reason why I think it's a chance.
Yeah.
Is when J-Mac got off last start in Sydney, the post race where they do the chat with the jockeys, he said this horse is going pretty good. And I'm happy to back in that James knows the horse fairly well and wouldn't be talking any porcupines. Comes down to Melbourne, handicaps, D Lane in the saddle.
Price.
D Lane riding 53.5 is a clear sign, I think. Frosty doesn't ride under 54 at all. So I know it's a Group 1, but if he didn't think the horse was somewhat of a chance, I don't think he'd bother. So 1x3 play, should get a good run from 3 and just hopefully, we run a hole.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it.
Porky Pies. Did we just sub a 55-year-old dad into the room?
I got the dad bod, so it probably makes sense.
Yes. I'm going to have a 2-bet play here. I think another will is just a Group 1 winner in waiting. Be interesting to see how they navigate Barrier 1. I think they'll have to squeeze forward. He was $2 futures for this race after the Testarossa. So, and is anyone really coming here that we didn't know wouldn't?
It sums up futures.
It's just doesn't it ever? He gains the services of Mick D with obviously losing Jamie Carr. I think just, even luck, he wins here. I think he's the best horse in the race and will be moving forward. And I'd love to see him be stamped as that X factor in a Cox Plate, just getting a couple of weeks ahead of myself there. But he would just be the perfect cherry on top for what's already one of the great Cox Plates.
It's shaping up as a great race.
Oh, it's best in my time in racing.
Board siding goes there.
Yep.
Another will, hopefully. The Japanese runner. It's going to be great.
The other is Orchestral. I want to have something on an Orchestral at double figures. You're getting around $10 her. She's a ripper. And this race is known for handing people their first Group 1, and there's no one more deserving than Dan Stackhouse, who rides Orchestral this week. So if they're running on, which I'm sure they will be, will certainly get the chance and has an immaculate second up record. So, Orchestral and another wheel being my main bet in the Group 1 Toorak, lads. Let's go to the lay streak now before we close out with our bests. And let's be fair, I'm just absolutely taking the P155 in this competition again for another season. I'm $374.08. Tommy, you're on 250. Reece,
Going all right.
you're back to
You've
100.
had 4 more shows than me.
Yeah, probably a couple of failed attempts in there as well. Tom, who's your late streak?
Not another will. Sorry, Charmstone. I was reading the wrong. Charmstone place. Race 3, number 1, Charmstone to place is my late streak.
And mine is Caulfield Race 6, Hurricane. I won't just lay the win. I think I'll lay him the place.
I'm following you in. I'm going
Beautiful.
race 6, number 15, Hurricane to place with Reece Goodwin. So
Nick Ryan's watching this. He won't be happy.
I tell you what,
Doubt it.
He's backed it, hasn't
he tipped us into. I was actually at the Ascot Vale Hotel for a
I
function.
saw that.
For a
Of course you
function
were.
last week.
he? I saw that. I
And
should have known you were there.
Nick Ryan, there is no better trainer, outside of you, Reece, you're excluded from this, in the business than knowing their horse's ability. So he had 2 runners late in the day at Ballarat. He had Mancier, who was a $2 shot, Dry Fire, who was a $8 chance. And he said, basically
Both
said,
express pass racing, I think.
he basically
Express
said
boys.
Mancier sleeps with the light on. And needs it wet. $2 is just gross.
Yeah.
And he was like,
So he's all laid it.
yep. So, and then he goes, in the next race, he goes, Drive by, absolutely flying at home. Cannot believe it's $8. Obviously, don't know the other horses in the race, but $8 stupid
Yeah.
price. The entire Ascot Vale
I
Hotel
saw
gets
the video
on
clip.
Drive
of that.
by.
They went ballistic.
It was genuine scenes. It
That's
paid
right.
for my weekend, so I feel bad place laying his horse now in the Herbert Power. But it's just business, Nick.
One Nick to
better
another.
than-
Yeah.
Better than Catherine Colt. Were you at the event where she spoke?
You told me about it at
Yeah.
the function.
Were you
Which,
there?
No.
She tipped. She had 2 runners at Pakenham the night we had a function.
in the
and-
same race, weren't
In
they?
the same race, and she tipped one and said the other won't win, and guess what happened?
The other way around.
Yeah. We haven't had her back since.
That hurts. Let's get to our best bets for the weekend. We'll start with you, Reece.
Only one, Tom. You can't have 65 of them.
Oh,
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 sorry, Reece.
I hate when we're about
Nah,
to
it's a
wrap
good
up
call.
and
Oh,
Tom
you wanna go
rattles
home?
on with 14 best bets, and then we go to Sydney
14
and
best
he finds
bets,
something at
12
Gatton
winners.
later today.
Gatton. Nothing wrong with Gatton.
What do you got for us? We'll
on.
start with Reece.
I actually don't even know what my best
Oh.
bet is, to be honest with you. Sorry about that.
Oh, right.
Tommy,
Go
there you
to
go.
you, Tommy.
I'll
You've got it all written down.
I
I've got to go
should've
off the top of my
known. I
head.
should've learned.
Exactly.
I've
yes.
read this book
Correct,
before.
yes.
Sydney race 4, number 4, Henline.
Yep.
I think he's a very smart horse.
Good looking horse.
Good looking horse.
More than that, it is.
Caulfield race 4, number 14, City of Lights, 1 by 3. Great each way bet. My best of the day. I think Jimmy Starr will win as well.
Yeah, my best is Jimmy Starr at Caulfield as well. And then Rosehill Gardens in the Group 2 $2 million Hill Stakes.
Yes.
Golden Path.
Mm.
This horse
Good-
is
good tip,
flying. It was enormous last start in the Kingston Town Stakes. There was
Handy form.
Serpentine set up a serious gallop with Elias just in behind. It was a real shake and bake sort of operation while Golden Path was being exposed, and he stuck on bravely. And the form through that race is just bananas. So he's flying at the moment. He's $6, so he'll be my bet at Rose Hill, and Jimmy Starr's my best at Caulfield.
Yep, my best is I'm going with Tommy. Race 4, Caulfield, number 14, City of Lights. I think she's really well placed. J Mac in the saddle from a good draw. She should get every chance, and she's my best.
Beautiful. I hope you guys feature more on the highlights this week when we put up the winners compilation. I was getting sick of hearing my voice. after
No, you
last
don't
week's.
lie to us. You are not.
No, I wasn't.
You go home and watch this straight away.
You
Cut
told me
us
to
out.
put the TV on you. Have you found a jockey for our horse yet?
Nah.
Any jockeys that are watching that you want to?
I'm sure there's a few that are watching that I want to ride it, but I probably won't want them on.
Oh, jeez.
Got
Got
big
that.
stakes.
I reckon I've tried
Well,
about
wait
10
till you-
at 54. Tried about
Because it's
10.
Everest Day in Sydney.
Yeah, a
and
lot of them
real
going there.
jockey
Okay.
shortage.
J Car, B Shin, M Zara,
What about
Willow.
backing in Jayla Kennedy? She's given you so many great
Can
rides.
she ride 54? No, I better not say that.
Yeah, she's been giving you so many terrific rides, and you've been back.
That's
Now it's
true.
time to put your money
That's
where
true.
your mouth is.
That's true. Let's wrap this up, boys.
Yeah. Hey, it's been a lot of fun. All the best Caulfield Guineas weekend. We'll be back next week for Caulfield Cup and the Everest. The racing feast just continues to roll on. All the best across the weekend. Have a good one.
Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.